On this episode of Locked On Angels, what went right for the Halos in 2024? We've got 3 things to discuss, and we're going to share them with you today. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to get back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And this episode of Locked On Angels is brought to you by Prize Picks. You can download the app today and use our promo code Locked On MLB to win $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
Happy Monday to you, and thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Hey, it's our third off season here at Locked On Angels, wrapping up year 3, moving on to year 4 as the host of the show. We're so glad that you're here with us. And of course, we're here 5 days a week until about late December. We'll drop down to about 3 episodes a week then. But until then, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, you can expect Angels baseball talk in your podcast feed or on YouTube. On today's show, we're asking the question, what went right for the Halos in 2024? And I know a lot of you are going, Mike, John, what went right for the Halos in 2024?
It's be about a 5-minute show.
yeah, it'll be a quick one. No, actually, there's some things we want to get into. We've selected 2 players to discuss specifically. However, to start out the conversation, Mike, we got to talk about the Angels bullpen. They actually did well this year. Let's talk about it.
Is that a bad omen for next year? That means that they're not going to be great next year. Doesn't it seem like that happens?
Well, here's the thing. After we get through this conversation, like, we can ask that question because I have a lot of confidence going into 2025 with this bullpen.
Let's talk about their stats first. So they were in 16th in the majors in ERA with a 3.99 ERA out of the bullpen. And then from June 15th onward, the Angels had a 3.15 ERA, which was the 3rd best in the majors. That was amazing. The turnaround happened around June 15th. This bullpen started to figure some things out. From the start of the season till June 14th, they were 29th in the majors with a 5.28 ERA. So
that sounds about right?
I was going to say all Angel fans went, yep, that's what we're used to, right? Carlos Estevez then earned AL Reliever of the Month in June. He had 10 games, 10 innings, 31 batters faced, had 1 win, 8 saves, 2 hits, and 10 Ks in the month of June. Ben Joyce, Johnny, from June 14th to August 3rd, he threw 22 2/3 scoreless innings with 20 Ks, added that splinker, which really changed his game. Then after Estevez was traded away from August 3rd to September 3rd, Ben Joyce pitched in 11 games, 11 1/3 innings pitched, 1 win, 4 saves, 1 hold, and a 2.38 ERA. Finished the year 2-0, 31 games, 34 2/3 innings pitched, 4 saves, 33 Ks, and a 2.03 ERA plus. How about that? With 103%. That's 103% better than league average for Ben Joyce. Johnny, fantastic numbers from Ben Joyce, and also fantastic numbers from when Estevez was with the team. 2 of the main reasons why the bullpen was really great after June, right?
Let me just reiterate that last point. 203 ERA plus means that he was 103% better than league average. Ben Joyce was twice as good as the average reliever across the major leagues.
And it felt like that. It felt
100%.
like that. His confidence, everything he did when he went out there did not seem like he was somebody that was getting rattled anymore. I know that walks were always an issue for him. He still has to work on the walks and cut that down, but seemed like a pretty different pitcher when he came back to the majors and was somebody that you're like, oh, he's in, we're good to go, right?
Yeah. Much different story than last year where he struggled with control. And the fact is, Mike, that splinker gives him such a unique weapon in the sense that he can get that around 96, 97, but then he'll throw 100 plus in
Yeah.
with the four-seam fastball. So just an added weapon that he really needed.
Yeah, and he's not a sideshow anymore, right? Like he's
Yeah.
not somebody like, oh, he throws so hard but can't do anything with it, right? He can
And he
actually go out there and pitch really well with that giant fastball that he has.
That's why I like the night that he hit 105.5. He also had success that night.
Yep.
So it wasn't just like a freak show thing, like you said, or a sideshow thing. Mike, in June, when the turnaround began for the Halos in the bullpen, they cut the dead weight. And whether it was by injury or letting somebody go, the Angels got away from Adam Simber, who I actually really liked.
Yeah.
Clearly wasn't healthy. He started out the season really strong, but the injuries caught up with him again, and then he was optioned to, or DFA'd to AAA, stayed with the team. Amir Garrett was cut. Jose Suarez, we were all like, thank goodness Jose Suarez is gone and away from this bullpen. Jose Cisnero was also cut. And I think that's kind of when you started to see some really good arms in the bullpen step up. In fact, Roansy Contreras finally got a set role in the bullpen after 3 starts. They went, you know what? Let's just have him pitch in relief. In fact, the turning point for Roansy Contreras this season was he got traded from the Pirates to the Angels. He came in relief, had like a 5-something ERA. Then he started 3 games. And get this, as a starter, he had an 8.22 ERA.
Yeah, not good.
From that point on, once they stopped letting him start and he finished out the season, he had 46 games in relief in total, but across all of his relief appearances, a 3.86 ERA.
That's
so
good.
A really respectable one.
Yeah.
The rest of the way was like 3.80 for him as a relief pitcher. So I think that if they give him a role next season in the bullpen and just say, this is what you're doing, you're a setup guy, you're a 7th inning guy, something like that, I think he's going to have a lot of success next season.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually really loved Hans Kraus, John. I think he was another highlight for this bullpen. I've compared him to Brendan Donnelly from the World Series team in 2002. Hans had a great year, 4-3, 2.84 ERA, a 1.49 ERA plus 25 games and 25 and a third innings pitch. And then Ryan Zeferjahn came over in that Luis Garcia trade. And he's somebody, John, I think the Angels can really rely upon next season. 12 games, 17 innings pitched, a 2.12 ERA, a 2.02 ERA plus, 102% better than league average. And then from August 27th to September 18th, he pitched 11 2/3 scoreless innings and had a batting average against of 0.86.
I like it.
Isn't that amazing? Like, this guy really stepped up. Another strong arm in the bullpen. Across his 17 innings this season, he only gave up 4 earned runs with the Angels. So he's somebody that there's a lot of hope around him. There's a good story around him, a great narrative about what Ryan Zeferjahn can do in this bullpen in 2025.
Mike, somebody who really seemed to turn a corner this year in the bullpen was Jose Marte. I felt like he was the Elvis Peguero type, where it was like big arm, no control, not somebody I want to count on. And then Marte really turned a corner. June 16th through August 1st, where that was the range of time that he was with the team before he got called up for June 16th, and then he got hurt August 1st, but he pitched 19 1/3 innings pitched. He had a 2.33 ERA, multiple instances of multiple innings, so he proved that he could go 2 innings in a row at times. Might get this, a 1.83 ERA plus, 83% better than league average. Are you noticing a trend about some of the pieces they have in this bullpen, right?
Yeah, they're all good. like it's hard for me to even say out loud because they're actually pretty good. At least these 3 pieces that we've just talked about, and they're guys that, like Jose Marte, that struggled in the past. So to see him figure some things out is great. Speaking of somebody that figured things out, John, Brock Burke got claimed off of the waivers from the Texas Rangers on August 13th, and he was a great pickup. He had a 9.22 ERA in 13 games with the Rangers. And then with the Angels, had a 3.54 ERA in 21 games with a 1.20 ERA plus, and was a good lefty replacement for Matt Moore and could be somebody that they, again, rely upon next season.
Yeah, I could see him sticking around for sure. Speaking of lefties out of the pen, Jose Quijada returned from Tommy John surgery that he had early last season. And we know that he needs to add another pitch. And you know that Mike and I have been plenty critical of Jose Quijada,
Yeah.
especially toward the end of the season. But get this, from August 14th to September 18th, he threw 11 scoreless innings in a row. He did get beat up toward the end of the season, as we all talked about. But if he can work some things out over the offseason, add another pitch, something that's going to help him get away from fastball.
Yeah.
He actually finished the season with a 3.26 ERA, and he had a 131 ERA plus across 19 1/3 innings pitched. So really solid return for Jose Quijada. Hopefully he can put the health behind him. Hopefully he can add another pitch behind him this offseason.
Yeah, another guy that was kind of a magical find for the Angels was Hunter Strickland, a guy who they traded for a couple seasons ago, right? And then had him on the team, and he was really good. And then
he was awful with the Angels when they traded for him.
right. What I'm saying though is that he was supposed to be really good with the Rays, right?
Yeah.
And then they got him, and then he wasn't. And so this season he made up for that. 3-2, 72 games, 73 1/3 innings pitched, a 3.31 ERA with a 1.27 ERA plus. Gave up 1 run the entire month of July and 1 in his last 2 appearances that he had in September. Had his ERA down to 1.73 at one point on June 4th. John, I know that with Hunter Strickland and I know with Roansy Contreras, there's probably some bad moments that Angel fans will go to and say, yeah, but what about this 9th inning, or what about, and you're right. Yeah. You're absolutely right. But that comes with a bullpen. But overall, looking at these numbers, the Angels really had a solid bullpen. And if these are repeatable for next year, man, this team is looking good and may not need to add too much, if anything. The question, though, is it repeatable? And which guys will probably not be back in 2025? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, as far as Hunter Strickland goes, I think that he deserves his accolades, did so much work for the Angels. I'm not sure that they will bring him back. I'm sure he'll get signed to a major league deal with another team because, Mike, it was a minor league deal this past season. The Angels really lucked out with him. They signed him his depth. But here's the thing. Everybody we've talked about so far, I think they're coming back.
Yeah,
obviously, Carlos Estevez, I think, is probably not somebody that they'll bring back. He's going to command a lot of money. I think the money is better spent elsewhere. But this is what you want from a bullpen. All of these guys putting up ERA pluses over 100. Again, you just want league average pitching in the bullpen. And for so long, the Angels have had sub-league average pitching from the starters, from the relievers. So if you can get guys who can, and this goes for the hitting too, if you can get guys who can pitch and hit at league average, the Angels are in a much better position. But the fact that so many of these guys are over 100, especially Joyce and Zeferjahn being around 200 ERA plus, that really excites me. I think that they have a lot of depth in the minor leagues. We've talked about this several times with the bullpen that they can go to who haven't been called up yet, who haven't gotten a chance. And I think that there's a lot of arms that we've yet to see who can come up and support this team. But I think right here, the names that we just went over, as long as there's health involved, as long as they come into next season ready to go, I think that they're in a good position when it comes to the bullpen. And then remember, they're adding Robert Stevenson back. Probably about May is when he'll be able to pitch again with the Angels, coming off that elbow surgery. And of course, he's going to need some time to rehab as well. But I think these Angels are in a really good position for 2025. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Coming up on Locked On Angels, who are the 2 players that we want to talk about who had some really good seasons and added to the positives for the Halos? We'll get into that conversation coming right up.
Hey, today's show is brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. They're America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. And they are the easiest and most exciting app that you can play daily fantasy sports on. Unlike other apps on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you need to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. And right now, you can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Right now, you probably don't want to pick anybody that plays for the San Francisco 49ers because they can't catch footballs. John and I are Niner fans and our hearts are broken and you're probably laughing at us, and that's okay. Download the Prize Picks app today and you can use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB and you're going to get $50 instantly when you play $5. Again, the promo code is LOCKEDONMLB on Prize Picks. Get $50 when you play $5, your $5 lineup. Don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and every dayers. Just in case you want to support the show, support Mike and I directly, you can do so by grabbing yourself some Super Halo Bros merch. We have our merch store. The link is in the episode description. Whether you're watching or listening, just tap that link and you can go to our store. You can pick yourself up a shirt, coffee cups, stickers, sweatshirts, so much more. There's Angels designs. There's our Halo Bros logo in different forms and fashions and whatnot. And you'd be rocking a Super Halo Bros shirt and supporting the show at the same time. So click that link in the description, grab a shirt, and wear it proud.
John and I, we talked about the bullpen, and they were one of the things that went well for the Angels in 2024. But then we selected two players, and the first player that we selected that was a positive in 2024 for the Halos was Luis Rengifo. John, he had a really good season, one of his best seasons, if not his best season of his career. Batted .300 with a .347 on base, a .417 slugging, and a .763 OPS. 6 home runs, 30 RBIs, did only play in 78 games. Obviously, the injury messed up what was going to be a really, really good season. But we talked about Rengifo often on this podcast last offseason. And we talked about how he needs at-bats, right? He needs at-bats to be the player that we believe that he can be. And he did a lot of things right this season, John. He had his highest line drive percentage of his career. We saw a lot of line drives to left field and left center, batting left-handed, so he was going the opposite way. And then he had his highest ground ball percentage of his career. Now, that might sound like not good news, but he was finding holes, but it also was an indication of him moving the runners over. And that's really important. And then also had his lowest fly ball percentage of his career, which is good news because he wasn't trying to hit home runs every single time he got up to the plate. Are you listening, Mickey Moniak? Because this is something that Rengifo is not. He's not a home run hitter. He is somebody that is better as a line drive hitter. And all of those numbers and percentages mean that he was focused on making contact, and he used all of the field a whole lot more, didn't he, John?
Yeah. Can I tell you what really impressed me the most? As a switch hitter, Rengifo has frustrated me in the past because he was always so great against left-handed pitching and then, average against right-handed pitching. But can I tell you what he did in 2024? Listen to this. Versus right-handers as a lefty, he hit 5 of his 6 home runs, 28 RBIs, had 8 doubles, 1 triple. He bat .288, had a .335 on base, a .397 slugging, a .732 OPS. Mike, listen to versus lefties as a right-handed hitter, which he's always done well. Mm-hmm. But the fact that he hit righties at .288 was great. But as a right-handed hitter versus left-handed pitching, he hit .352, a .397 on base, a .500 slugging percentage, and an .897 OPS. So while he's been good against lefties in the past, he was even better this year. And so the fact that the right-handed hitting, or I should say the left-handed hitting versus right-handed pitchers climbed this year, I think is really significant for Luis Rengifo. I know that we look at the home run numbers. They're not where they were over the last couple of years, but the power was still there in terms of slugging. Like you said, a .417 slugging percentage, but .500 against left-handed pitching in terms of slugging percentage. That's a really good line for Luis Rengifo.
And here's why those numbers were good, John. His pull percentage was 39%. He hit it to center field 37% of the time, went opposite way to left field when he was batting left-handed, or went to right field when he was batting right-handed 22% of the time. Those are the best numbers he has in his career, and they're all almost equal. Obviously, hitting the opposite way was the lowest, but John, he was pulling the ball and hitting it to center field about the same amount of time, but then he was adding in going to left field as a left-handed batter, going to right field as a right-handed batter. This was a Luis Rengifo that we've been asking for, and when he got more plate appearances and more time, he was able to prove that he's a pretty good little player, right? And what I loved is that he swung at the highest amount of pitches in the zone in his career, 77%. Yeah. So he spotted his pitch, and he went after it. And he wasn't just good offensively. We know he plays all over the infield. John, he had his best ultimate zone rating at third base last season. It's not a great number. It's negative 0.6. Obviously, that could be better, but it's one of his better ultimate zone ratings at third base. He had the most innings that he's ever had at third, the most attempts that he's had at third base. And so I think he's somebody that could possibly be a strong third baseman for us next season. Obviously, second base is in the mix as well. So where do you slot Luis Rengifo in 2025?
Man, if I'm in charge of this team, I want to give Luis Rengifo one job. And I know that he can play second, he can play third, he can play shortstop. So in that sense, Mike, to kind of complement what you and I have been clamoring for the last 2 years for Luis Rengifo, I'm getting him in there every day until he needs a day off. But he's going to be my guy at third pretty much all the time. I know that second base is still kind of up in the air. I guess it really comes down to what are they going to do with second base? Is Christian Moore going to be part of this team next season when it starts, or maybe later on down the line? But I'm tired of counting on Anthony Rendon. In fact, I don't count on Anthony Rendon. I think Luis Rengifo's third base job has been earned. And the fact that he was slightly under average with that negative 0.6 UZR, that's an improvement from year over year as a defender over at third base. So I see him getting better. I see the benefits of Ron Washington paying off. I know that second base is his best spot. So it really comes down to how do the Angels handle the offseason when it comes to like Luis Rengifo playing second or maybe playing third. All that to say, if it comes down to it, I'm giving him third base because I can't count on Anthony Rendon anymore to be in there. And I'm not even sure I want him in my lineup. And not to make this about Rendon, but it just goes to show that Rengifo got as many opportunities as he did because Trout went down early, Rendon went down early. You need his bat in the lineup, I should say. And the fact that he can play all over and give guys days off at different positions, I don't know where I would slot him permanently, but in my mind, he's in there every day. He's batting probably second, maybe even fourth or fifth in some lineups. You know, sometimes you got to change things around. But I know Zach Neto took over the second spot really well, so maybe there's some room to figure things out there. But at the end of the day, I think Rengifo needs to be in there every day, and I think I would give him third base. Where would you put him?
Yeah, I think I would still want to utilize his ability to play all over the infield. I just wouldn't want to treat him as my utility guy. I want him to know that he's in my lineup every single day. And that would be the reason why I would have him move all over the infield, because I don't want him to get bumped by anybody or to have a situation where, well, we have to play Rendon. I want him in the lineup. So I would mark him in my starting lineup and then go, okay, what position do I need filled right now? Third base, shortstop, second base. That's how I would use him right now. I get the idea of like give him one job and have him focus on that. But I think that the benefit of having Rengifo on your team is that he can play in a lot of different positions, even outfield, and play to an average league player. And then he's a switch hitter. And so I love having him all over the lineup. I think I would move him. Like you said, I would move him into certain spots in the lineup, but I would have him bounce all over, maybe even have him bat leadoff sometimes, maybe have him bat ninth sometimes. I think that you can utilize his skill set in a lot of different ways. But the bottom line is that this guy is gold for you in 2025. So a healthy Rengifo is a great benefit to the Halos.
That's the biggest question is, can he stay healthy? It's been an arm issue the last couple of years. And I think that's really something they got to zero in on and figure out how to get around that. But you're right, Mike. I mean, when I say that I would put him at third base, then I move him to short when Neto needs a day off. I move him to second when that guy needs a day off. And then that's when you do put in Rendon at third base, because at this point, I think Rengifo has earned everyday time. I would give him an expectation of you're going to play here until we need you here or here.
Right.
And what you said about the lineup is true. I think that he's proven to be adaptable no matter where he's hitting in the lineup. There were times where he would hit leadoff. There were times where he would bat ninth. Sometimes he would bat third, and so as if he can continue to be a 300 average hitter and that's what he brings into next season, I'd be interested to see him in that 3 spot with maybe like a Mike Trout behind him and see what kind of damage these Halos can do in 2025.
Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. They're America's #1 sportsbook, and they want you to be a whole lot smarter when you're making your bet. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check the live latest stats. You can see the play-by-play and so much more on the same page that you're placing your bet. It's going to help you to make better decisions and, of course, win more. And that's what FanDuel wants for you. And to help you get started, they have $200 in bonus bets that they want to give to you. Guaranteed. Don't even need to win. Guaranteed. All you have to do is place your first $5 bet. $200 in bonus bets. Guaranteed. Just place that first $5 bet. Don't even need to win. You get that money. It's a gift from FanDuel, and it's all waiting for you at FanDuel.com.
All right, last guy we want to talk about today is the one thing that went right toward the season, because we know that there was a lot of struggles toward the end of the season, especially in the pitching rotation. But the one bright spot in that pitching rotation was Jack Kochanowicz, Mike.
Yeah.
Man, what we saw on the field was 2 tough starts. When he came up for the first time in the majors, he got sent back down, made the adjustments he needed to make. Then he was brought back, made 8 quality starts in his last 9 games. Probably, and you and I have argued this before, probably could have had 1, maybe 2 complete games if he had not been pulled in the 7th or 8th inning, that sort of thing. Man, talk about pitch efficiency. And here's the thing. The adjustment that he made between when he debuted, went down, and came back, it didn't happen just because he was sent down. It was something that he was already working on before the season even started, right, Mike?
Right. Yeah, Kochanowicz said, I just decided, okay, what am I doing that's not working? I was just accepting what I needed to make change, and I decided I'm going to make those changes. And so the 2 things that he did, John, at the beginning of the year, and then when he got sent down and brought back up, he made these adjustments again. The first thing he did is he fully committed to throwing a sinker instead of the 4-seam fastball. And then 2, he changed his posture, resulting in a slightly lower release point. Mom's always saying shoulders back, stand up straight, right? And so he was listening to his mom. He changed his posture on the mound, and that suddenly made his sinker do things that he hadn't seen it do before. He said it just gave me a different type of movement. And he said, once I saw that, I was like, okay, I can trust this, and I'm going to roll with it. And I love that.
It's wild to me because I was looking at Sean Manaea, and I brought him up on the show before, but they changed his arm slot this season, and that's why he's had so much success with the Mets. And I was looking at his arm slot on Baseball Savant, and they actually show you how many degrees from 90 that they throw at. And in previous years, it's like 26, 25, 27. This year, Mike, it's 20 degrees. And I'm like, you're telling me 6 degrees of 6 degrees of separation, 6 degrees of difference can make you an elite pitcher who brings his team into the postseason. Like, and so to hear this from Jack Kochanowicz in terms of posture and delivery and all that, it's just wild to me how baseball can have those sorts of little tiny tweaks that make you a completely different pitcher. It's so cool.
John Perry Manassian even talked about that. He said that Kochanowicz does a better job of simplifying things for a pitcher. Strike one is key. And over the few starts that he had this last season, he threw a lot of strike one instead of ball one. And Perry Manassian also said, because he always has the caveat, he's like, is he where he needs to be yet? No, not necessarily. There's a lot of room for improvement, but it's fun to watch him develop. And he said, I think he could be a part of this rotation for a really long time. Part of that improvement, John, was that Kochanowicz was not necessarily missing the bats like a regular Major League Baseball player is, but he was doing better. So Kochanowicz had a 9.4 K percentage this last season. Now the Major League average is 22%. Right. So there's a lot of growth there, but he got most of his outs on ground balls, 57% ground ball rate. And he was throwing strikes at a 70% rate, and which is way ahead of the league average. On this, Perry Manassian said, for us, we're looking for out getters. We've talked about that a ton.
Is that the technical term?
I think so. Yeah, quotations, out getters. And he said that Kochanowicz has the ability to get outs early in the count. You mentioned his pitching numbers and how he was able to go deep into games. It allows him to manage the pitch count, go deep into games, and that was really important in his starts. He said to have a starter get 6 into the 7th inning is worth its weight in gold. And so, John, do you think because Kochanowicz was developing that swing and miss ability in his repertoire, do you think that that's going to be something that they're going to figure out in 2025 and that he's going to have to make an adjustment? Or do you think that he can continue to be the guy that he is and continue to grow there, but be more of a contact ground ball guy?
Here's the way I look at it. His sinker sits about 96, 97. So it's a hard sinker, but it's also an effective sinker because it gets guys out and it induces ground balls. But we've also seen guys swing and miss right through it, Mike. And so I think that can be a weapon that he works on. I think the sinker, if it's going to continue to be successful, is all about location. I mean, if you throw that inside on the hands, you're going to break the bat. If you throw it down at the bottom of the zone, guys are going to swing over it or ground out if they make contact. But you know what he started to do toward the end of the season was incorporate his four-seam fastball more. And again, his main bread and butter is that sinker. He even said that that's what he began to trust more and get away from the four-seam. But just like Ben Joyce, if you're able to throw these guys at the plate, something in the high 90s, and then you come in with a 100-mile-an-hour pitch at the top of the zone, that thing looks appetizing. It looks tasty. They're going to swing at it, and then they swing right through it because they can't catch up to it. That's what Ben Joyce was doing effectively because he was changing eye levels.
Yeah.
He was throwing that splinker to where it tails down, and then he would throw the fastball up at the top of the zone. And I think Kochanowicz can do the exact same thing. He's got to change eye levels. He's got to induce the same kind of contact he's been doing. But here's the thing. I know we get all high and mighty about strikeouts, but when it comes to strikeouts, it's not always efficient because it takes at least 3 strikes to get a strikeout.
Yeah.
And that's not the way these things go all the time. And I look at somebody like Reed Detmers. He can have 12 Ks, but he also got you 5 innings.
Right.
And that's not the most efficient pitching in the world. So when I look at Kochanowicz, I think he's right in that sweet spot. I think he can get the K when he needs it, but he's also going to begin to change eye levels. He's going to begin to throw that sinker in the best spots possible and continue to work on that location to, again, get guys to swing and miss over it or induce the weak groundouts. I think he's on the perfectly right trajectory at this point. I'm looking forward to see what he can do in 2025.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Now, for your second listen, check out Locked On MLB. That show's available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day.
Hey, give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening, come on over to today's show on YouTube, get in the comment section, hit that like button and subscribe button on your way down there. We love interacting with you on YouTube in the comment section, so make sure you jump in there. Mike, what do we have on deck for Tuesday's show?
Well, today, what went right? Tomorrow, what went wrong? So that 6-hour show is going to be posted. No, actually, we'll see if we can squeeze it in 30 minutes, but we're going to talk about what went wrong in 2024. We would love your thoughts as well. We're going to talk about all of that tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
All right, looking forward to that conversation. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Tuesday.
What?
6-hour show.
We're going live.
We're going live. Forget it. We'll do it live.